If you walked into an upper-class Victorian home in the 1890s, you might expect lace curtains, velvet drapes, and a towering, fragrant Christmas tree glittering with candles. But in some houses, particularly the fashionable homes of London, Boston, and New York, the tree wasn't standing in the corner. It was standing in the middle of the room, and it was alive. Tonight, we're traveling back to a forgotten chapter of holiday history. A moment when fashion, theater, and Christmas collided so dramatically that guests didn't just decorate their trees, they became them. Because in the 1890s, the height of holiday glamour wasn't the banquet table, the parlor music, or the gifts under the tree. It was the people themselves, shimmering beneath garlands and tinsel, dressed head to toe as walking Christmas trees. The origin of this odd and charming tradition lies in the Victorian love for theatricality. The 1890s were the golden age of parlor games, living room entertainments that blended improv theater, costume play, riddles, and tableaux vivants. Wealthy families held character nights, historical nights, and the most festive of all, tree pageants. Originally, the idea was simple. Guests would show up as ornaments. One person came dressed as a gingerbread man, another as a snowflake, someone else as a holly sprig. But then, during the winter of 1891, a new twist appeared in London society columns. Miss Evelyn Ashbury arrived as the Christmas tree itself, hung with small candles and gilded nuts. This little report changed everything. Within a few years, Victorian papers were filled with similar descriptions, young women and sometimes even young men wearing cone-shaped skirt frames covered in velvet, lace, and tinsel. Their sleeves were trimmed with evergreens. Their bodices sparkled with ornaments. Some even had small, safe-burning candles clipped into their skirts. What started as a parlor game became a social phenomenon. The Victorians adored symbolism, and the Christmas tree, a relatively new tradition itself, represented abundance, charity, and domestic joy. So becoming the tree was more than a costume, it was a statement. By the early 1900s, the trend evolved into something even more surprising: the rise of tree women, staged studio portraits meant to be humorous, artistic, and occasionally satirical takes on holiday femininity. Photographers loved the image of the human tree because it let them exaggerate two things Victorians were obsessed with. 1. Nature as fashion. 2. Fashion as spectacle. Early postcards show women wrapped in cascading greenery, wearing star-topped headdresses and holding garlands like scepters. Some pose with serene elegance as though they truly are mythic forest spirits. Others lean into comedy, smirking, juggling ornaments, or posing stiffly like literal wooden trunks. But the most important thing to know is this: these weren't theater performers. Most of these photos were taken in private studios, for private amusement. They were house party souvenirs, inside jokes for elite families, not public stage plays, not church pageants. Just playful, creative, slightly absurd holiday entertainment. Rich families would commission a photographer to come to their home, bring props, and transform their daughters, and sometimes sons, into ornamental masterpieces. Victorian newspapers described these costumes in loving detail. A skirt of layered velvet, shaped like fir boughs, branches of pine wired to a corseted bodice, strings of cranberries, oranges, and gilded walnuts, tinsel garlands draped like necklaces, candles affixed to the gown with silver clips, and yes, they actually used real pine branches. Imagine the smell of fresh evergreen mixed with the scent of beeswax candles and winter fruit. Half fashion, half forest. These weren't costumes. They were living decorations. Let's talk about what these human Christmas trees were actually made of. Victorian fashion was filled with layered lace-heavy velvet silk understructures. Corsets, steel, hoop skirt frames, add pine branches, dried fruit, gilded nuts, and tinsel. And you had a costume equal parts couture and craft project. But the most shocking detail? Candles, actual candles. Before electric light, Victorians used small, controlled wax candles clipped onto their clothing, the same kind used on Christmas trees. Newspapers reassured readers that these were safe, but in reality, they were absolutely not. Still, the candles were essential. They were a status symbol, a literal way to glow in a dim room. A fashionable young lady in 1895 might descend the staircase at a holiday ball shimmering like a lit tree, her dress twinkling with tiny flames, her perfume mingling with evergreen, and the whole parlor watching in delighted awe. The message was clear. She wasn't just wearing Christmas. She was Christmas. The tradition faded after the 1900s, but it was reborn, bigger, brighter, and absolutely spectacular in the world of American theater. The Ziegfeld Follies, famous for high glamour spectacle, resurrected the tree woman look for their holiday productions. They took the concept to a new level. Towering headdresses shaped like stars, glittering skirts patterned after evergreens, full-body ornament costumes, huge light bulb accessories. Once electricity arrived, what began as a Victorian joke became Broadway fashion. If you see vintage Christmas showgirls in magazines or black and white photos, you're looking at the descendants of those 1890s parlor games. The idea that a person could become a tree, glamorous, humorous, festive, survived long after the parties that inspired it. Today, we turn to Pinterest and Instagram for holiday inspiration. We buy sweaters with LED lights. We decorate trees with precision. We admire influencers creating sparkling holiday looks, but long before hashtags and decorating challenges, people were already doing the wildest thing imaginable. They made themselves part of the decor. In the 1890s, to be festive wasn't just to hang ornaments. It was to become one. The human Christmas tree wasn't a joke or a gimmick. It was a symbol of joy, creativity, and a love of holiday spectacle so strong that the boundary between decoration and person simply vanished. So, the next time you see a modern holiday outfit, glittery dresses, themed costumes, bright colors, remember, you're looking at echoes of a forgotten Victorian tradition, a world where Christmas wasn't just on display. It was worn. Would you dare dress as a Christmas tree? Or would you rather just decorate one?